48th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the third week of June 2011. This episode is titled 3 to Grow On. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, cloud computing experts. I am your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me is the co-host, 48th time, it's Justin Elstein. Justin, how you doing? Big stretch.
Big stretch here in Times Square Studio.
You're supposed to stretch before the podcast.
What are we going to do for our 50th? It's like kind of a big deal.
50th podcast? Episode?
Yeah. Webisode. Not cast, if you will.
We'll wear the same shirt.
We're already doing that.
Okay. So we won't do that.
We're literally wearing the same shirt today. Little scary.
A little scary. So we got a light agenda today, I would say. There's lots of little cloud newsy things out there. We could put them in like a random bucket and then spend 2.5 seconds on each one of them, but we're not going to do that. So we're going to talk about, there's a new blog post up, kind of interesting, about the three products, AppExchange products that we sort of can't live without at this point, which I think could have some interest to it. It's sort of like 3 picks. I think we picked all of them at some point.
I have to believe we picked all 3 of these.
But we've been using it for so long that it's kind of a way to go back and say these are things that we still use every day, can't live without. Google Chromebooks are available after the big Google announcement at Google I/O a long time ago, or I guess a month or 2 ago, and they're available now. But do we still care? And mobile cloud app development framework from Appiro, and we'll talk about that and what that means and what it might mean in the future. And then, of course, we'll end up with our CloudFocus app pick of the week. So let's get going. First up, the bloggy post from the unmentioned,
the partner that shall remain nameless.
Yes, and it is entitled 3 Salesforce AppExchange products we cannot live without.
Yes, it is.
And
so true.
So why don't you give me a sense of those 3, and we'll talk about them.
All right. Let me give you all 3 of them, and then we can talk a little bit about how we use each of them. The first one is, we're mentioning Appiro quite a bit today, the Appiro Calendar Sync for Salesforce and Google Apps. The second one is the Super Follow buttons for Chatter by Force.com Labs.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one, which is the mother of all add-on applications.
Yep.
The Conga Composer by AppExchange. So let's go one by one through these and talk about how they make our lives a little easier. So the Appiro Calendar Sync for Salesforce and Google Apps. Clearly, we are a Salesforce shop. We are also, we use Google Apps for all of our productivity needs, email, chat, calendar, contacts,
Google Wave.
I was waiting for you. I was going to let you do it. Google Wave, all integrated, single sign-on. Very nice. All in the cloud. Travel anywhere you want. You have your stuff. It's great.
It is good.
We have 2-factor authentication turned on. We are very secure.
Well, don't. Unlike City.
What?
Don't mention how secure we are, because then
we're in the cloud. We're secure.
Oh.
We did not give away all our customers' data.
We don't put any of our customers' data anywhere near the cloud. No, just kidding.
Right.
I just feel like if you say it, then that sort of, you just paint a big target.
I couldn't put that on the agenda in the Google Wave, but we could sort of mention it.
Yeah, sort of mention it. Well, I didn't mention it.
Okay. Anyway, I think we're a little unique because we actually use our Salesforce calendars as our main calendars.
It is the truth.
Arkus.
The truth is in the cloud. And it's in our calendar.
And it's in our Salesforce cloud calendar, not our Google cloud calendar.
Right.
But we use Google Apps, and we want that calendar to be in both places. We don't want to double enter it because that's a waste of time. So we use the product from Appiro, Calendar Sync, and essentially you log in with your Google credentials inside of a tab within Salesforce. You choose how often you'd like them to sync, which direction, one way or two way, one way Salesforce out or Google in, or bidirectionally. And you pretty much set it and forget it, and it does a really nice job of syncing. It used to dupe some things here and there, but I don't know, all of a sudden it doesn't do that anymore. So it works flawlessly now.
Whoa, let's not say flawlessly.
It works really well.
It works if I think you obey the rules. The rules are pick a direction and stick with it.
That's not true. It works. I now throw
problems.
Things. Well, here's the thing. We all are Apple users. We're all on our Macs. and I don't think any of us actually go to the calendar online.
Yes, I do. I do
to accept events.
That's correct.
So we do have some rules.
Okay. That's what I'm saying.
But we
Rule number one.
We do use our iCals on our machines.
Yes.
To view the Google Calendar.
Yes.
So rules: if you get a calendar invite, accept it inside of Google Mail on the web, which will jump you out into the Google Calendar and accept it for you.
Not in
Apple Mail or in iCal.
Do not do that.
Don't do that.
Or on your phone. Don't try to do it.
On your phone. Don't do that.
Do it on Google
Now,
Calendar.
you can add events right into your iCal. And yes, absolutely.
You can.
Don't invite people.
It's a risk.
No, it's not a risk.
It works.
It works all the time for me.
It works
every time.
35% of the time.
Well, then you and I have set it up differently because it works perfectly for me.
You will get exceptions on it. I would say it's not a good practice.
It works.
I'm telling you that I've looked at it. I've gone on the forums. It is spotty because you're basically syncing two ways. You're syncing 2 times up. You're syncing iCal to Google, which is great, using CalDev, and then which is a pretty robust.
If that happens instantly,
it does, and then there's the Google Calendar to Salesforce sync, which works. And I will say it works, but I find there's more problems if I add something to Salesforce. 99% or 95% of the time, it'll get down. If I add it iCal, 75, 55, it can have problems.
You and I have different experiences with that because
I'm saying, but
it works for me every time.
Okay.
It really does. I add stuff on my phone, I add stuff in my iCal, and it gets to where it needs to go every time.
Okay.
And it doesn't dupe. Now our main thing is, we like to put the events inside of Salesforce because we like to relate them to things.
Right, and
that doesn't come down to
the relationship.
So that's why we treat the Salesforce calendar as the gold source, because we like that relationship.
Because you can relate. Right, we run all our projects out of Salesforce. We run all our stuff, so we want to have
opportunities, whatever it might be.
We want to have that relationship, and if you're adding them to your iCal, then there's the chance, because it's on a 2-hour sync, right? So you won't even show up there for at a maximum of 2 hours, a minimum of 5 minutes or so. So that's why I would say best practice to put it into Salesforce first, because then you do the relations, you do the right thing, meaning you invite the right people, you connect it up, and then it'll flow down and show up. Otherwise, you put it on the other calendar, and then there's a chance it'll make it up there. You have a better percentage chance than I do, but then it's always remembering to add the people. So,
although I do think we're a rare case. I think most people who would use Salesforce and Google Apps, their Google Calendar is their main calendar, and they use that to see free busy time across their company, as opposed to us who use Salesforce to do that.
No, well, I don't. You're right. I use it to see free busy time, but I use what I love about the whole connection, and we can then move on, is that for the first time in my life, after working for companies for millions of years, what feels like millions of years, as I turn another year older tomorrow, it's the first time I can look at any calendar wherever I have it, or I can look at, I have views to calendars where I can mash up as much information as I want. I can mash up my Arkus life, my home life. I even do, as we talked about before, I share a mobile me calendar with my wife that we track our sort of family events. And so I can always look and see whatever is going on. One of my, at least the iCalendars I have on my iPad, iPhone, and the iCal, they're the truth, and they really will tell me what's going on, and I don't have to go, oh, do I have that thing at work, or do I have that thing at home, or does my wife have that PTA meeting? It's like there's a place I can go, or a couple places where I get that truth. I even so much as publish my personal calendar back up to Google, so I can then look at the Google side and see the same truth. So go 4 different ways from sideways. Anyway, so that's Appiro calendar.
Anyway, it works for us. Free.
I think the problem is that it's not well supported. Meaning, I think it either works or it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and that's it. And they don't care. They've hidden it. I don't know what that means on the AppExchange when something can't be found through search anymore, and it kind of has like a private label on it. Yeah, so it's an interesting little thing. Is it means that they're moving it away eventually? There is a pay version, but even the pay version is hidden now. So, enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, we're gonna keep using it. So
until someone rips it out of our cold, dead calendar hands.
So our next product that we use all the time, which may or may not continue to be needed to be used, but for the time being, still useful, still very useful. The super follow buttons for Chatter.
Yep.
So the super follow button can be put on any list or search view for custom or standard objects inside of Salesforce, and it's a mass action button. So if you're on a list of, say, like open opportunities that are due to close within the next 30 days or something, and you want to follow all of them, you can use the select button, or you can select individual ones. And
new of Summer 11, which
right.
I think we're going to talk about more next week.
Well, right. So I wasn't mentioning the Summer 11 thing.
Sorry.
I was mentioning the checkbox that sits
check
next
box
to the list to say I want to select this one, this one, this one, this one, this
You're
one.
talking about the feature. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Right. And,
all right.
and then you could click the follow button,
Yes.
and it will execute some script and allow you, and essentially make you follow all of those records in the list. Now in Summer 11,
Yes.
it has been released where there's a new column in lists
Right.
that shows you if you're following a record or not, and allows you to one by one check off whether or not you want to follow them. Which is why I introduced this product by saying it may or may not be around for a lot longer, because Salesforce just enhanced quite a bit of its list chatter. Right, you can see chatter on lists.
Right.
You can follow things from a list one by one. This allows you to do them in mass. So you can have like 100 things in a list, check all 100, hit follow, and you'll follow 100 things.
It needs to have a super unfollow button with a 500 object limit, 500 record limit to follow, which I hit up against all the time. Although less now with Summer 11, because I have views where I just go into that view called like paid invoices or close lost opportunities, and I'll just go click. But even that, it should just be select all, unfollow.
Yeah.
So hopefully those are going to be built in. But for now, Force.com Labs has a solution. So use the super follow button.
Super follow.
Doesn't have an unfollow.
No unfollow. Needs a brother.
Needs a brother.
And last but certainly not least, as the partner who shall remain nameless called it, the mother of all add-on applications, Conga Composer by AppExchange. We talked about this as something that Salesforce should really acquire.
Still do.
It's such a great product, and we've talked about it many times, but just to give an overview, Conga Composer allows for. It's so hard to talk about in 3 minutes because it does so much, but
then do it in 2.
I'll do it in 4. It allows you to take data that is sitting within Salesforce and get it out of Salesforce in more visually appealing ways than a Salesforce report might do. It allows you to do more than just a printable view of a record, because you can take reports that are related by one thing and essentially do the outer join, the thing that everyone wants to do. Show me a contact with all their cases and their opportunities that they're related to.
Right.
And through a series of reports, you can get to that. You're always telling somebody, well, that's 2 reports, or that's 3 reports. And they're like, well, why is that 2 or 3 reports? It's one contact. Well, with Conga, you could put a button on the contact, have it point to all those different reports, and have the output be a Word document, a PDF, a PowerPoint, an Excel that is in the format that you want to have it formatted in, with the fields that are included in all those reports. And you can go even further than just getting the document out. You can email it, you can attach it to the record, you can log the activity, you can send it to an Echo sign or a DocuSign and have the document that you created go off for e-signature. Whole slew of features.
Almost comes up. It's rare that we meet with a client who it doesn't come up in conversation, and it's not because we're lazy. It's because basically it's the thing that you want to do with data once you started capturing it. Is I want to have it come out not in Excel and not just as a printable report, but I want to look a certain way, and then I maybe want to go off to someone else so they could look at it, but I want it to look a certain way. We have 2 use cases right now. One is the running from an opportunity, turning it into an agreement. The agreement goes into EchoSign. EchoSign then goes sent out as a PDF, gets electronically signed, come back, does stuff like all great workflow. We've talked about that a little bit before. But I have a client now that wants to do a massive one that pulls in, I think 7 or 8 custom objects and then activities and notes, and we'll put them all in one big thing.
The master.
Like this one big report that they want to run off the account object.
I mean, that's the great thing about Conga is that data is in the system, lots of it, but it's only really useful if you can look at it in the way that's useful to you. And Conga allows all that rich data that's in Salesforce to be viewed in a way that is meaningful to you, the user. Like, how is this most useful to you? Well, it's modeled and it's in Salesforce, and it's sort of could potentially be in a bunch of different places. And if you need to look at something that's across 3 different reports, well, that's not so useful. Right. And that's where Conga really comes into play.
That's a great job. So we love Conga. Love those 3 apps. Those are our 3 that we really can't live without. None of them.
Well, let's give some examples of what we do with Conga in our org, because we say, we use Appiro Calendar Sync. We use Super Follow buttons. Conga Composer, we just talked about it in sort of general terms and how we use it for our clients.
Sure. But we use it for contracts. So we can, on opportunities, we have like a button to generate a contract with everything filled out. We use it for NDAs, where if you want to, again, generate an NDA between us and our clients, click a button, it does it. The big use is our proposal system, really heavily uses it and generates a proposal that reads in a bunch of different stuff and reads from, I think, 3 or 4 different reports and builds a 7 to 8 page, really nice looking, well, we like the way it looks, but proposal that's easy to read, that's well organized, that has, everything we want in it, and does it at a click of a button, and then sends it out. So click of a button, add in your own note, and send it out in a PDF, which is great. And then we use it for our projects, which we run all our projects out of Salesforce, obviously, because we're Salesforce people. So we built our project management, which we've talked about before. So we use it for project status reports that we generate weekly. We use it also to generate a sort of project timeline that goes to Excel, which Excel then uses the fields that we have a built-in chart that builds a Gantt chart in there. So that's kind of cool. And then we use it for, well, I guess we have all our status reports come out of PDF form. So it's, but again, very easy to do, looks good, clients like it, just millions of users. And there's stuff like, we were talking with someone the other day, a client, because I guess there's new regulations coming up about employees signing off on things yearly, and so they have to sign off on certain regulations or sign off on books or things that they did or didn't do. And we said, well, that would be a good use of Conga, because you could then generate these pre-filled out, kind of like, dear Jason Atwood, this is your 2012 yearly sign-off agreement, blah, blah, blah. Have it go out to something like EchoSign, have people sign it, and you could track all that activity as opposed to printing them out and sending them to people, or however they did it back in the day, or hiring some other company to do it. You can build it all in your system, especially if you're running your HR out of there. So, okay, so that's the 3 things. So a good article, good blog post. That's on blog.arkusinc.com if you want to read that and other ones that we've done. I think we're almost up to 100 blog posts. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the blog. So the next one was the Google Chromebooks are now available. So Chromebooks, what we talked about from Google I/O, their annual annual conference. I don't know if it's user, developer, whatever. It's a conference. They have lots of people there. It usually makes noise.
I think it's a developer conference.
We could have waited because 2 years ago they announced Google Wave at their conference. But so this one, there was lots of news. The big one really was we're going to put Chrome, which Google Chrome is kind of there's an OS version of it and there's a browser version of it, which we talk about a lot. But they now have a product, which are going with Samsung and what's the other one? I don't remember, but whatever. There's some other manufacturer.
Yeah, what is that other one? Acer.
Wow. It's like he's reading on the wall.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't in the Google Wave.
It wasn't.
So they're putting it in. So it's a built-in. It has 3G built in. There's a couple of neat things. It's
3G optional, like an iPad.
But it's a cloud OS in essence, built into an operating system that's running on a piece of hardware that's cheap, that's easy to buy, meaning it comes, you can subscribe to the hardware, so like $20 a month or $25 or $30 a month, comes in with support, but allows you to do all the stuff that you do, which is web stuff, because everything's on the web and everything's on the cloud and everything's in the internet. And I think when we first saw them, I was like, we both said, I think, we're going to get one. Now they're available.
All right, here's the thing.
And I haven't bought one
Here's
yet.
the thing. when we
I get very excited about.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
When we watch Steve Jobs on a stage and he talks about a new product,
Yes.
and we say we're going to get one, we then go wait in line the day that it comes out for 5 hours, and we actually buy it
For six or so.
whatever
hours.
it is.
Yes.
We then buy it.
I have done
We are that stupid.
Or impressionable.
Both.
Okay.
We did not do that for this.
This doesn't have this. There's no sexy factor to this. This is a utilitarian thing. I had the use case to use it yesterday.
Yeah, you did.
So I came to the office.
I watched it.
Yes, I came to the office yesterday without my laptop, my trusty MacBook Pro, which I love very much, because we were going somewhere else, and it was just sort of a stop to come in for an hour. Had a call, whatever. So I came in with my iPad. I'm like, I can rock an hour on my iPad and do some work or check an email or two.
But you couldn't.
But we had a WebEx. I joined on my iPad. I connected up my keyboard to it, and I was all like, good. But then someone needed a PDF, and it needed to come down this way, and I needed it from, and it just turned into like, wow, I can't do. There's some things I can't do. So I had to take out this older computer we have sitting around, kind of like it's the. I think yesterday I said, welcome to 2002. And, use it. Worked fine, great. But I was thinking, at that point, that would have been a very good use case to have one or two Chromebooks sitting around that we could just, use.
Would the Chromebook even work in that scenario? You needed to,
yes,
fax somebody something, didn't you?
No, I needed to take a PDF, and I needed to take it from one email and attach it to another email. And something I could have done on the thing, but, write a couple emails. Obviously, we do tons of Wave, tons of... It would have worked for everything I wanted to do. But, is that use case, since I've used that computer once since it's been here for the last a month and a half, is that use case enough just to go get one of these things and stick it in our office?
I kind of wanted to get one to futz around with, just to have it.
Yeah. I'd like to see how it works from a thing.
I might go play with one at a store or something.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that one day.
Let's do that.
Where can we go? Like a Best Buy?
I don't know. Them? Anyway, they're available for.
Where can we get them? Amazon?
They're about $500. I think that just is it fast enough to do what I want to do, and is it I do want one. I just don't. You're right.
So we're gonna go to Best Buy one day and play with
the factor of that the iPad and all that stuff comes out and the way they present it, and also the use of those things always seems like there's so much more. Like the iPad has things in it that I now don't do anywhere else, but this thing seems
playing NBA Jam.
Like playing NBA Jam.
Because that's about 75 to 80% of my iPad usage.
Oh, watching
my pick of the week will cover about 5%.
Oh, 5%. All right. Well, then let's keep going.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet. But speaking of iPad apps.
So do you care about Chromebooks?
Oh, I was doing a Segui. I care about Chromebooks in the long term. I don't.
Do you care as much?
I don't care right now.
Okay. Do you care about them as much as iPad apps and development frameworks?
No.
Or iPhone apps and development frameworks? Well, good news because
it's close.
It's
close. You did bring it back.
Mobile cloud app development framework is announced by Appiro. So lead us through this. You had this story, so I read up on it.
So Appiro announced, I think it was just the other day, on Monday. So we're recording this on Thursday, on Monday the 13th, that Appiro's mobile practice has introduced this app development framework, and they've essentially made it supposedly very easy to build and manage native iOS apps for Salesforce.com.
Okay.
So connecting Salesforce.com and Database.com to a native iOS app. So not like just running in the browser.
Right.
Something that Salesforce hasn't come out with, like an iPad app for Salesforce. They have the Chatter app, but not the Salesforce app. But supposedly there's some very easy to use pre-built templates for just snapping together these applications, and you don't really need any iOS skills.
Programming knowledge.
Programming
you don't
knowledge.
Need to know
it's a lot like
whatever it is.
They're saying it's a lot like building a Force.com application if you weren't to be writing Apex and Visual Force, if you were to be configuring clicks not code. This is the clicks not code for snapping together iOS specific applications that work with a Salesforce.com backend.
Yeah, I mean, love it. Love the theory of it. Can think of great examples for it. I think it's always easier to say things are easy to do than it is
Oh
to
yeah,
do them.
totally.
But yeah, I can't. Do we have like an availability date? Can I download it? How can I put it? When's it, that type of thing, or is it more of a?
It's more of an announcement. Yeah, I don't. I mean, they've announced that they've been using it internally to do things with different clients. They've announced that they've built some apps, pre-built existing templates for field surveys, location-based apps, time and activity tracking apps, as well as search and display apps. Mm-hmm. They built an app already to check in at client account sites, like a mobile app where you check in at an account. I'm sure it was just a proof of concept. Like a Foursquare check-in.
Foursquare.
Hey, I'm at this account.
And it chatters
and you check in, it must chatter it or something along those lines. So just a proof of concept type.
Do you think
app.
Do you think it'll make enough noise? It'll be sort of rolled up into what's coming up at Dreamforce.
It may. I mean, when you think about just Salesforce's huge push into mobile, the tablet and smartphone marketplace is booming, and what this could potentially mean for specifically like certain marketplaces, like I can think of healthcare, education.
Right.
Some big things can happen if mobile device application development becomes as easy as clicking.
So they can already connect to database.com, but database.com isn't even out yet.
Appiro seems to be able to connect to things that don't always exist.
Don't exist? That's a great space-time continuum thing.
Yes.
I can connect to stuff that doesn't exist.
They're Appiro. They get to connect to things.
All right. Well, I mean, I can. When you said it, I could think of 5 or 6 examples off the top of my head that I would want to do and build out. Database.com as a platform looks really cool. If I could build a mobile app that talks to it, geez, you could do some neat stuff, right? So sounds good.
Yep.
And that's really all.
Yeah. If you have think about just our org and our project management application.
Yep.
If we were able to very simply port that to a native iPad app, we would do it.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. So if this really makes it that simple, that would be very cool.
That would be very cool. We don't really hit, so that's sort of the big news. We could do potpourri, like Google announced a lot of new features, including you can now send up an image to say search images like this image.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
It's kind of neat. They announced new sync stuff where I guess now, although we've never run into this problem, and I guess now with regular Google Mail, you can now sync. You can now search across all your inboxes. That sounds cool from your iOS device.
On the server.
On the server, right. What else is potpourri? More iCloud, so there's more questions and less answers about iCloud and what it means and what it is. Like we had a discussion about iDisk and all that. No one seems to know. One of the big debates is there going to be some sort of web interface to this? Because there's a web interface to MobileMe right now. Right. John Gruber.
I don't think it's a very good web interface, by the way.
I think it works. It works
I think
great.
It's terrible.
I just never use it.
I think it's extremely slow.
Oh yeah, it's a little heavy. It's heavy.
Really sluggish.
Looks really good though.
Looks nice. Very sluggish.
Never use it.
To me, be fast.
Yeah. The only thing I like about it are the galleries, because you can easily publish the galleries.
The MobileMe galleries look very nice.
They work great. And the other, John Gruber of Daring Fireball has said that there will be, because they've got basically almost a year from now to come out with something.
Yeah, I got the email from MobileMe telling me that I had until like June 30th, 2012.
Yeah.
To
migrate, whatever,
deal with it.
But of course, they didn't tell you what
I'm migrating to, how I need to migrate it. I'm hoping it just works, and my existing account just continues to work.
They know some stuff's not going to work. iWeb is no longer going to work. They're going to get rid of that.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either.
I don't care.
Which was actually interesting. A poll went up on Rewrite Web Cloud side, like
Rewrite Cloud,
which was asking, does the iCloud really have anything to do with cloud computing? And we had this debate last week, and while I think it is a great synchronization mechanism, and it's in a big data center, and they're probably using, yes, it's multi-tenant, yes, it's virtualized, one of my concerns about it is it seems to be very platform specific, and that's one of the tenets I think of cloud computing is that it is not as platform specific as installed software, which is very, very platform specific. So I know Apple, I'm a big fan of theirs, like the stuff they do.
You're a big fan of Apple?
Yeah, big fan.
Oh.
Can you imagine?
For those who haven't heard this podcast before, I mean,
that's just shocking.
They would never know.
They would never know. So, but as also a big fan of cloud computing, it does kind of it's two tastes that don't taste great together, because I think that they're kind of going against cloud
like
computing.
Toothpaste and orange juice.
Oh, that's not good. So, speaking of things that do taste great together, is CloudFocus App Picks of the Week. Let's get your pick of the week.
My pick.
And let me know.
All right.
What is
it? My pick is called MyPad for Facebook.
Okay.
By Loiter Inc.
I think this is like one of the top. I see this up there on the top. Like,
it totally is.
Yeah. You're a follower.
Not super new, but it's fairly new.
Okay.
There's also I'm picking just MyPad for Facebook. There's MyPad for Facebook Plus, which is without ads. My version's free. It has some ads in it.
Okay.
Just started using it within the last week so that I can pick it this week. It's a Facebook app for your iPad. So if you like using apps instead of going to websites on your iPad, here's an app that lets you do pretty much everything that you can do in Facebook just inside of an app. So I like the Twitter app on my iPad. I don't go to twitter.com on my iPad. I actually rarely go to twitter.com, if
Very
ever.
rarely. Except for sometimes the data points on twitter.com are more recent.
They're just a little different.
Right.
And I don't really go to facebook.com either. I do a lot of my Facebooking on my phone. So I figured if I had an app on my iPad, I would do maybe a little more Facebooking, or I'd
Facebooking.
Yeah, Facebooking.
Really.
And I like it. It does everything. It has a nice interface. It reminds me of kind of like the Twitter app. It looks very similar. Things slide in, things slide out. There's a pane on the left, navigation, photos, people, news stream, the basics. And
does it have interaction with it, or is it just sort of reading?
No, you can post things to it.
You can post things. You do your status.
It's Facebook.
Right.
It's got chat.
It's
got everything.
It is interesting that they have not really built one yet.
Yeah, Facebook hasn't.
Facebook has not built one yet.
Oh, here's this one by Loiter.
But they have one for the iPhone, which the one for the iPhone, while it works, there's some quirky stuff about it. Like if you go off a list and come back, you're like at the top of the statuses. Like it doesn't keep where you were. Like there's some stuff that I'll
tell you, I very rarely go to Facebook.com. If ever, I am just on the phone.
On the phone, right?
On the phone.
Well, interesting, good one. So free MyPad.
There is the Plus version
by Loiter.
Right. The Plus version is 99 cents if you want to pay for no ads.
Okay. And
the same thing though.
But interesting. I wonder how much they're using the API.
They got to be using it quite a bit because you're interacting with Facebook.
So mine actually very similar. I have a list that I keep of all of my ones, but this one kind of popped up on my list this week because it got mentioned in the news. I guess we could have called this the Facebook podcast, because this came up as Facebook was looking at this browser that we had talked about back in episode 18. Yes, I looked it up. It's a new browser called Rockmelt. It's built on top of Chrome, so it has Chrome ability.
I'm downloading it right now.
Okay, good. I could have sworn maybe you switched computers since then.
I switched computers since then, but this computer's I never downloaded it.
Oh,
downloaded when we talked about the Sparrow. I started using Sparrow a little bit as an experiment.
Yep. I actually went back after you said it and tried it the other week, and
I'm no longer using Sparrow. It's good. I'm just no longer using it.
It just doesn't have as much. It's not as full featured. It's great, lightweight app. It doesn't have as much that I want in my app. So anyway, so Rockmelt is basically the concept that you take the browser that you're doing all this social networking stuff and kind of, I would say it encapsulate you. I'm looking at it now, and so where you have a normal browser window, it's in the middle. You got your bookmarks up top. You got your browser stuffing in the middle. But you're all over the place. You're surrounded by social networking. So you sign into it, and even along the top, there's like, it's kind of like made Facebook so on the top here, you see that I'm logged into Facebook in my browser. So it tells me like that I have a new friend request and there's new stuff going on. So kind of very much built into the browser itself, including pictures. And then on the side, the left-hand side, you have all your Facebook friends that are, you can see their online status, you can chat with them, but they're kind of listed along the side, and you can move the ones you want to the top. Then the other side, you can connect up to all sorts of sources like Twitter sources and stuff. And then of course, obviously, sharing is built into the browser. No longer do you need a plugin, right? Because sharing is
it's kind of like the iOS having Twitter at the core level.
Right.
The browser has these logins at its.
So it's been updated. In fact, I updated it 2 days ago, and I looked at it, and I just opened it up again, and it's thrown a growl notice saying there's another update. So they're actually putting more time into it, and apparently it's being looked at by Facebook, because I'm sure Facebook would love to have a browser that was theirs and theirs alone, that they could sort of put time and effort into, sort of like Safari. Apple has its own browser, and Google, which used to be the search company, now has their own browser. And
I will say, this does remind me a lot of Flock.
A thing that you forgot until I reminded you today.
Well,
Flock.
I said that browser that disappeared, and you said Flock. And I remember using Flock, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and thinking, oh, this is interesting. They've made a social browser, or a Web 2.0 browser, right? It connected to your Flickr, and it connected to your Delicious and your Dig account, your Reddit account. I just wonder the lifespan for things like this that are so they're so dependent on other people continuing to be the thing,
right?
And then once those things are no longer the thing, it goes away.
It definitely has. It does have a lot of features that, again, if you're very, very involved in Facebook and Twitter, it's great because it kind of builds a whole Twitter client right into the browser, and it builds Facebook kind of right into the browser. So you're not even, wherever you are, Facebook is with you. So I think for people who like that, and again, at the top of my browser window, it has little Facebook icons that, where I can hover over people that are sitting on the side and see, like, I can hover over your Facebook and see that you last tweeted, or you last Facebooked the Arkus blog post, or so I can see this stuff, but without having to lose my browser or go anywhere. Interesting. Again, I actually look at it like it's we talk a lot about productivity, and we talk about focus, and this to me is sort of the ultimate. You might as well just have lights going off in my face.
Oh my goodness!
As I try to do something.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
It's just all in your face, isn't it?
It's everywhere.
I pulled in my bookmarks from Chrome, it looks like.
Yeah, it pulls in your Chrome.
Or from Safari. Safari.
I think. So that's it. It's Rockmelt. Give it a shot. I mean, I think if you're a browser geek, if you like trying out new browsers and seeing features, and again, just seeing how things can connect, it's definitely worth a shot or to look at. It's free as you can be. It's up to version, well, as of today, 0.9, 0.58, 0.423.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah. And it's using Chrome as the back end, so it's fast and furious, and I'm sure can do all the other stuff. It's almost like a Chrome browser that someone had just had pre-installed, a lot of pre-installed plugins into.
It's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah, because there are a lot of these plugins, or what they call them, extensions, that can do a lot of this stuff, and I use a lot of them. That might be an interesting blog post or podcast.
It has this read later thing, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, which is which is going to be built into Safari. So anyway, Rockmelt, social browser by Rockmelt. So good stuff. So that's it. Wrapping up the CloudFocus picks of the week. Again, if you want to read the blog post or blog posts, they're all up there. blog.arkusinc.com. You can follow the company at twitter.com/ArkusInc. That's ARKUSINC. I'm at twitter.com/JasonMAtwood. And Justin here is at twitter.com/JustEdelstein, because Justin Edelstein was taken.
No, it's too long.
Too long.
I had it.
But wait,
it was
mine is longer than yours, no?
No. Mine was one character too long.
And you didn't want to go Justy Edelstein?
I could have done Justin Edelstein.
That would have been worse.
Yeah, that would have been pretty bad.
Or go to facebook.com with your Rockmelt browser, and go to facebook.com/ArkusInc. And again, ARKUSINC. And we have all our stuff up there. We post once or twice a week where we put updates to things. But if you're looking for the podcast, you're looking for the CloudFocus Weekly Podcast, which is rounding on its year anniversary and or 50th episode, which would be about right. I think we did a little bit more episodes in a couple weeks, so we will be above our 52 when we get to the 52 weeks. But go to iTunes and subscribe to it there. Leave us a nice review. We'd love that. And every time we publish it, and generally towards the end of the week, but sometimes earlier and sometimes multiple times, especially as we get closer to Dreamforce, we'll probably be doing much more. Good place. Subscribe in iTunes, and it will sync right down every time we publish it. So that's it. So for the rest of the day, as it were, enjoy this cloudy days and all your social browsers that you own.